Hey, what's up out there, guys? It's time for another episode of my top 100 movies from the glorious decade of the 1980s. Today I'm diving into movies number 70 through 61. There's a little bit of everything on this list. Of course, there's going to be some action and some comedy, as well as a little bit of science fiction, some horror, a touch of drama, and some more. Now, if you have missed the first few episodes in this series, fear not. I will have them linked down in the description and at the end of this video. If you are returning, I thank you so much for coming back, and I do hope you're loving this series as much as I'm loving making it. As always, to keep this video moving, I'm not going to be covering all the synopsises for these movies. I'm going to leave them down in the description as well. So with that said, let's have some fun and let's dive into 10 more awesome movies from the 1980s. Getting this list into motion, I have a little comedy coming in at number 70 about a man and a woman. She was born to spend, he was born to offend, and the only way they could fall in love was by accident in the 1987 Gary Marshall comedy Overboard, starring Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell. Now, this is a movie that relies on cruel humor, but I think it's far from cruel intentioned. Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn are just the perfect duo. Their connection and their chemistry is what makes this movie so great and so endearing. They're just all in on this material to really sell it, and the wackiness in the plot just, I think, has an undeniable charm to it, and seeing Goldie Hawn go from heiress to housewife is a hoot. Russell is the perfect, just gritty prankster that you probably wouldn't really like in real life, and the opposites attract concept, as recycled as it was, is the cherry on top for this comedic classic. We're going to get a little serious for a moment with my number 69 pick. It's a movie that critics have hailed as being the best war movie ever made, and that would be the 1987 Stanley Kubrick epic Full Metal Jacket, starring a commanding ensemble led by Matthew Modine and Vincent D'Onofrio. This is a movie I would consider to be an experience, really. I think it pulls you into the mind of a soldier and into the chaos of battle, and it's just a masterpiece from start to finish. The psychological elements of this film are thought-provoking and just emotionally gripping, with the violence of the depiction of war just being completely visceral through Kubrick's lens. The cast is phenomenal, headlined by D'Onofrio and Modine and Ermey, who just consume their roles, resulting in a perspective-changing look at the trauma and bravery of being a soldier. For my number 68 pick, I have a horror movie that changed Fridays forever when a group of camp counselors ventured onto Camp Crystal Lake in the genre classic Friday the 13th, starring a young Kevin Bacon in one of his earliest roles. Now, I don't think anybody would argue this movie is iconic, but it's also hit and miss with a lot of people. The acting, admittedly, is not the best, the story pacing is a bit slow, and the progression is repetitive. And outside of a young Kevin Bacon, the characters are all pretty much forgettable as well, but I mean, it's still a good time. It's still very unnerving and very uneasy. The first-person viewpoint adds a lot of fun suspense to all the violence. The lurking and the killing really begins from the onset as camp counselors are getting picked off. It's all simple stuff, but it works, with the final act and really its origins for the future being what made this a lasting movie in the 80s. This next movie at number 67 follows an international terrorist who has New York in the grip of fear, and only Deke Da Silva, the most dangerous cop known to man, can bring him down in the highly undermentioned crime thriller Nighthawks from 1981, starring Sylvester Stallone, Rutger Hauer, and Billy D. Williams. I just love this movie. I think it's a slick, gritty thriller with a consuming just noir vibe and just very immersive backdrops. Stallone is great as the more grounded detective, and he and Williams are just a fantastic duo. Hauer is fantastic as the sadistic villain. I think he brings a very effective eeriness to this character, and the game of cat and mouse across Manhattan is just a stylistically violent ride. There's a charming 70s vibe to the direction and a Hitchcockian atmosphere to it in places that gives this thriller a real strong boost. It's certainly not as bold as the other Stallone flicks from the 80s, but I do think it still is one of his best. Now, this number 66 movie, when made, was actually set in the future, which is now actually the past, as New York has become the only maximum security prison in the country. When you go in, you do not come out, but that's not going to be the case for Kurt Russell as he makes his escape from New York in the 1981 science fiction classic from John Carpenter. Now, if Kurt Russell with long hair and a beard, wearing an eye patch and first edition Under Armour with a pair of zebra camos and some black boots is not the epitome of the 80s action movie hero, then I don't know what is, because he just soaks it up perfectly as the grizzled Snake Plissken. He commands this movie. The futuristic vision in this movie does play much more now to nostalgia, but I gotta admit that still kind of works in its favor too, because the blend of early computer effects with practical work from the 80s is still a visual treat for this movie. The eccentric plotline keeps a quick pace, and Carpenter's creativity can easily consume you. It has plenty of action and bravado and flamboyant characters to fill all the spaces in between, and anytime you want a film to escape into, Escape from New York is that one. We're jumping back into the genre of comedy for my number 65 pick about a couple of twins who only their mother could tell apart in the 1988 ageless classic from Ivan Reitman, Twins, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Danny DeVito, Kelly Preston, and Chloe Webb. I think Twins is just one of those movies that can really only work in the 80s or maybe the early 90s, I guess. Schwarzenegger and DeVito are the perfect pair because they are the imperfect pair. Their comedic timing really is fantastic. The humor, I will admit, it does kind of rely on DeVito and the situational laughs, but I mean, why this movie really stands up and really holds up as being a great film from the era is because of Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, he steps from the action genre into comedy effectively. He manages plenty of laughs on his own. The story is adventurous. Preston and Webb are fun supporting characters, and the I would say the heartfelt core really makes this lighthearted blend of action, comedy, and romance a true hit. We're going to step into the business world for my number 64 pick. They say that there's no such thing as an overnight success, but for Brantley Foster, it took him 2 weeks in the 1987 dramedy The Secret of My Success, starring Michael J. Fox and Supergirl herself, Helen Slater. Now, this is a bit of a superficial and an admittedly dated small-town kid with big-town dreams story, but I mean, Michael J. Fox is fun to watch in this movie. He brings a ton of energy to the role to deliver all the drive and moxie that the character needs. It's filled with light montages and charismatic 80s music, and sure, plenty of 80s movie cliches as well. The ups and downs of realizing and achieving your dreams is captured in the story with appeal, though it isn't a flashy movie, but Fox carries it with ease, and he delivers a fun chemistry with Slater. And I will admit, despite the sugar-coated feel of this message, I think the young-hearted vibe kind of makes up for it to just make this a fun, feel-good movie when you're in the mood for one. We're going to stick around in the genre of laughs for my number 63 pick about a journalist who changes his identity more than he changes his underwear, and that would be the Chevy Chase classic comedy Fletch from 1985, directed by Michael Ritchie. To me, Fletch is one of those movies that is simply dumb in the most delightful of ways. Chevy Chase is just firing on all comedic cylinders here as an undercover reporter working on the case. The story is fast-paced, it's loaded with a variety of humor and just laced with fun splashes of action and different character moments. Fletch delivers quick-witted humor, comical sight gags, amusing story beats, and it's just really a lively, engaging film. I think Chase really showcases his comedic timing, his range, and some of his self-awareness as well. This movie is just goofy and frequently dumb, but with a touch of seriousness, it just makes it all work. And finally, Freddy Krueger makes his first appearance on the list at number 62. If you think you're going to get out alive, you must be dreaming in Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors from 1987, starring Heather Langenkamp, Robert Englund, Patricia Arquette, John Saxton, and a pre-Lawrence Larry Fishburne. Now, I love this entry in the Elm Street series. I think it's one of the better horror sequels out there. The story is very simple, but it's just sadistic, and the psych hospital is a fantastic playground for all the killing. The cast is an appealing collection, with Arquette and Langenkamp really cementing them well, with the awesome visual effects just making this movie pop to really complement the story concepts, from, the practical effects to the digital work to the production design and even stop motion at times. This film really is a visual buffet of just Krueger terror, with Englund delivering a vibrant performance to make it one of the best in the series. Now, Stephen King once noted my number 61 pick as being the best adaptation he had ever seen of his work. The film posed the question, do you want to see a dead body? And the journey these boys embark on will stand the test of time in the 1986 Rob Reiner classic Stand By Me, starring Will Wheaton, River Phoenix, Corey Feldman, Kiefer Sutherland, and Jerry O'Connell. This movie, to me, I think is just the perfect blend of amazing young performances complemented with rich, layered storytelling. The plot pulls you back to 1959 in the Pacific Northwest. It explores these truly broken kids with authenticity and just a heartfelt lens. The writing, I think, does a great job of building layering to all the inner torment that each of these group members is really dealing with. It creates a lot of raw emotion, and the performances, I think, capture the dramatic intensity with ease. It's a journey to see a dead body and a journey of self-discovery that can appeal to anyone. The emotions in this movie, I think, feel so natural, and that's what makes this coming-of-age tale a timeless classic. And that's it for today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. 10 more classic movies from the 80s, numbers 61 through 70, are in the books. Like I said, if you've missed any of the first episodes, they're going to be linked all over the place for you guys to check out if you feel so inclined to do so. Don't forget to be on the lookout for the next episode coming very soon. And in the meantime, I'll see you at the movies.